디스커션에 마이크가 필요합니다. 마이크를 또 디스커션에 참여하시는 분들 수에 맞게 나눠주시고요. 네, 그리고 잠깐 스태프, 네. 디스커션에 참여하시는 분들 앞으로 네, 모시도록 하겠습니다. 네, 여러분들 잠깐 기다려주시면 저희가 오늘 디스커션을 갖고 또 여러분들 저희가 사실 휴식 시간을 조금 원래 가지려고 했었어요. 그런데 아무래도 네트워킹 시간이 중요하다는 생각이 들어서 저희가 조금씩 이제 축약을 해서 네트워킹 시간을 길게 늘렸습니다. 그래서 여러분들께서 이 편안한 시간 가운데 함께 해주시고요. 뒤에 있는 네트워킹 시간 때도 함께 재밌는 담소 나누면서 또 못다한 이야기 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네. 지금 조금 시간이 더 약간 저희가 세팅도 더 하고 그리고 조금 준비가 되는데 약간 더 소요될 것 같은데요. 우선은 마이크도 전달해 주시면 감사하겠고 또 참여하시는 패널분들 나와주시면 감사하겠습니다. 저희 마이크 하나 더 필요하시죠? 마이크 하나 더 준비해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네, 마이크 네, 기자님께 전달 부탁드립니다. 네, 보통 디스커션 때는 저희가 정말 궁금했던 것들을 진행하시는 분들이 질문해 주시고 거기에 대해 진솔하게 답변하면서 어떻게 보면은 더 넓게, 더 깊이 알아가는 참 뜻깊은 시간이 되더라고요. 자, 여러분들께서 행복한 마음으로 참여해 주시면 감사하겠고 네. 네, 그럼 저희 바로 패널 디스커션 진행하겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. Hello. My name is Marco. I'm the chair of iMoran. Okay, hey guys, please introduce yourself briefly.
Hi guys, I'm Sasha Ivanov, founder of Waves.
Hi, I'm Andy Lian from Singapore. I'm a government expert and a book author.
My name is Marco Kim and from SAP Adventures.
Hello, I'm David from Korea and I've been in crypto since 2016. Thank you.
예, 오늘 디스커션의 주제는 DAO의 소싸이 같은데 굉장히 철학적인 질문이 될 것 같습니다. The theme of this panel discussion is DAO and society. I think it's very philosophical theme, right? And I ask questions. 자, 각자 DAO가 뭐라고 생각하는지 좀 질문 드리고 싶어요. What is DAO? Each of you defines DAO.
I think DAOs are the next big thing in crypto. Because we didn't have hype around DAOs yet, and I think it's still to come. So what is DAO? It's a way to actually improve something that we have in real world, like a real world governance with blockchain. Because blockchain brings a lot of new things. It brings transparency and it means accountability. So when you try to do some like decentralized organizations on blockchain, they become more transparent than like real world organizations that we have now. So this is very important. And DAO is like if it's some kind of like acronym, and it stands for decentralized autonomous organization. So what it is, let's break it down. Decentralized means that it runs on the blockchain basically. Autonomous means that it is like some kind of like independent thing that doesn't depend on any other DAOs and can exist on its own. An organization means that it's an organization. This is something that we've had like for millennia. It is a way to organize communities and do something together. So it's a new way for society to operate actually. It's not something that is related only to DeFi or to blockchain. It's a promise of new ways to operate for society as a whole. So it might be very important. It's not so important yet, but maybe in future when we have DAOs with $1 trillion locked in them, it can become very important, and those DAOs can compete with big companies, with governments and with states. So to summarize, DAOs can be the future, and we are here to make it happen.
So anybody else?
Sure. I think DAO to me is more of a collective agreement, between multiple parties. But of course that's with the pretext that we are using the blockchain technology to facilitate all the different kind of agreements. Like the fine gentleman has mentioned, it is decentralized. So it is a way to create a consensus in the most fair manner, when we talk about DAOs. And to be honest, DAO in this part of the world, in Asia, it is not a stranger. A lot of us are exposed to different DAOs, right? So we have DAOs that serve a certain purpose for investment purposes. We form a DAO to buy a Korean national treasure 4 months ago.
Yeah, right.
And then we have the bigger DAOs with bigger funds like Beat DAO, for example. They serve a multiple purpose. So I think all these DAOs are good right now, and it serves a certain purpose. But I think the DAOs will continue to evolve, as we move on. Thank you.
I think DAO is simply the organization that gives power to the people in the community. And instead of asking for something from your boss or leader, the smart contract will do those tasks. So the whole organization will be self-sustainable. So, and anyone can propose and anyone can vote in order to advance organizations. So I think the core operating entity of DAO is community members. And I think DAO is environment where all community members can be leader or owner of the organizations.
You want to say something?
I'll be speaking in Korean for Korean members. DAO는 하나의 툴이고 실험적인 어떤 조직이라고 생각을 합니다. 영리의 목적이든 비영리의 목적이든 거버넌스 레벨을 자유롭게 조절하고 함으로써 팀의 어떤 목적에 부합하는 길들을 다양한 방식으로 풀어갈 수 있는 조직이라고 생각하고요. DAO의 가장 큰 포텐셜, 제가 경험했던 부분들이라면 고용에 대한 유연성인 것 같습니다. 어떤 DAO가 지향하고자 하는 목적에 열정을 가지고 참여할 수 있는 사람들을 쉽게 온보딩할 수 있고 그 사람들의 열정을, 잠재성을, 포텐셜을 끌어올려줄 수 있는 게 DAO라고 생각하고, 그동안 아직 DAO가 이제 툴이 발전되지 않았고 아직 개발 중이지만 그동안 여러 DAO를 제3자 입장에서 보거나 직접 참여하면서 일반적인 스타트업들이 생산해낼 수 있는 생산 속도의 몇 배에 달하는 그런 포텐셜을 보면서 DAO의 가장 중요한 부분은 고용 유연성을 통해서 프로덕트의 포텐셜을 올릴 수 있는 것이라고 생각합니다.
So when I ask something, so please answer clearly if you want. Okay? Okay. So 아까 리더 말씀하셔서 리더 관련돼서 질문 드릴게요. You said about leader. I think humans are social animals, right? And have formed organizations from the past, have leader. And all kinds of organizations always have a leader, I think. Is it possible an organization without a leader? In reality, is it possible? I think a non-leader organization is the point of DAO. Is it possible in reality, real world?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question actually, because we are trying to launch the new generation of DAOs now that will be solving exactly this problem and answering this question, whether it's possible to do like leaderless organizations. I think probably it's impossible, but it's a question of what we want from DAOs. I think people have to decide what they want a DAO to achieve. and then the protocol has to pick the right people to achieve that. So it's different, because when you vote, at elections and like government elections, you usually vote for people. You don't vote for things you want them to do. So usually you vote for a particular person, but it should be reversed somehow. You should be voting for what you want to get done, and DAO could help with that. There can be protocol, and we're building this protocol actually that will pick the right people to do that, because there is some metrics that people have to follow, and when they're successful with their decisions, they get more governance power, and when they're unsuccessful, when they make wrong decisions, this governance power is taken from them. So there is some kind of so-called skin in the game. They have a vested interest, and it's really different from what we have in the real world. As I mentioned, usually don't vote for ideas, you vote for particular people. But you need to vote for things that you want to achieve. And that's where DAOs can help. So I think leaderless organizations are probably impossible, but there are better ways to choose the leaders, and DAOs can help with that.
사실 의견 전적으로 공감을 하고요. 어떤 조직이든 목표하고자 하는 바들이 있을 거기 때문에 그 코어 아이디어를 내시는 분들, 그러니까 코어 리더라고 부를 수 있겠죠. 그 사람들은 반드시 존재를 해야 한다. 그렇지 않으면 그 조직의 목적이 있을 수 없기 때문에 처음에는 그 아이디어를 낸 코어 멤버들이 조직을 구성하고 아이디어가 어느 정도 구현될 때까지 최소한의 임기라고 해야 될까요? 그 시간을 이제 또 투표로 지정하겠지만 다오가 어느 정도 구성된 이후에는 사실가 얘기했던 것처럼 한 사람에 종속되지 않는 다오가 운영될 수 있다는 것을 예를 들면 올림포스 다오 같은 프로덕에서도 그 파운더인 지우스가 코어 아이디어를 계속 내놓고 어느 정도 프로덕이 궤도 위에 오른 다음에 스텝백해서 뒤에서 이후 다음 단계에 대한 논문을 낸다든지 아이디어를 제시하는 형태로 서포터 역할을 해주면서 다오 안에서 다른 카운슬 멤버라든지 거버넌스 참여자들이 자율적으로 의견을 내고 그거에 대해서 계속 수정하고 같이 빌드업할 수 있는 그런 것들이 조성되는 것을 봤기 때문에 처음에는 코어 리더가 있어야 한다. 하지만 방향성이 어느 정도 정해진 뒤에는 다오 안에서 지속적인 발전이 가능하다라는 게 저의 생각입니다.
I think in a more ideal situation, most DAOs should not have any form of true leader. Ideally for me, right? Because if you have a true leader, you appoint a certain leader, whether it's by consensus or not, that's a bullshit DAO. Because you know who they are, you can give them a call to change all the votes. We know this very well, in a lot of these DAOs, how it is operated and so forth. So ideally, it should not have any form of a centralized point of authority and contact. Everything based purely on consensus. That should be the way for DAOs, and that should be the way how DAOs will work better. If not, then the purpose of forming a DAO is just redundant. So coming back to the point about a leader, that leader itself can be totally anonymous, right? So you can go by a nick, go by a name, you can call yourself Satoshi something, and then you continue to live in the DAO and do the right work and steer the direction of the DAO towards the right purpose. I think those are more efficient DAO. So is there a leader? Yes, there might be a leader, but you won't know who he is. Similarly for everyone else in the DAO, if you really want to do that. That's my very ideal idea,
Yeah, I think it's question about how to define a leader. And in DAO, anyone can propose or vote, and anyone can participate in decision-making process. So But I think the leader in DAO is the one who has the most governance tokens. Am I right?
The one with the most money?
Yeah. Yeah. That in reality, I mean,
These guys are
It's not good. It's not good. It's true now, but it's not good, because it's very simple to manipulate those
Yeah.
DAOs. So there has to be a new generation of DAOs that works in a more sophisticated way.
Yeah, it is. At some point, people know who they are and who the leader is. So I think it's impossible to achieve the ideology of yours.
Actually, to be honest, it can be done. It depends on how you start the whole DAO. So I give you an example. If today the DAO is started by XYZ blockchain, so you know that the leader is already by default within the blockchain, right? But if you want to do something from community up, it's actually possible.
Yeah,
100% possible.
I mean, at least you know the wallet address, and then you
It's
can
okay.
trace down the activities
True.
of that wallet. So
But if you are not dogs, you will not know who the wallet holder is, right?
no, but at least you know the activities and the intention of the wallet address. If they sell off all of tokens they have, then the DAO will collapse, I think.
True.
But this is why there must be governance.
Right. And the whole DAO should not be controlled by just the governance token, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, for example, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create such an architecture when you make right decisions, you are rewarded with more tokens. And when you make wrong decisions, the tokens are being taken away from you. It's a very simple approach, but we don't have it yet in current DAOs. And I think it should help. This is the first step that should be done in the direction of like more balanced DAOs, because otherwise what happens now in DeFi, basically you can bribe people to vote for your pool, for example, and it's very easy to do. For example, you have Curve.fi, it's a very big stable coin exchange pool, and you have several projects on top of it, for example Convex, and there are some others that do bribes, so they pay people their tokens to vote for some particular pools. So you can go to Convex and bribe people to vote for your pool on Curve. So I think it's not a governance. It's just too basic. It's so easily manipulated that you can't really call it a proper governance. It's something else. So to make a proper governance, we need to create more sophisticated systems. It is usually called simple token governance, this approach, when the number of votes that you have is proportional to the number of tokens. But it is just way too simple. That's why it's called simple, but it's way too simple. So we need to create something more complicated.
And I think people are wiser than we think. If there is no collapse or product, they will invest or deposit their money to the product.
Okay, very hot discussions. And 저 의사 결정 구조 관련돼서 말씀하셔가지고 그 부분에 대해서 여쭤볼게요. Decision making process of DAO is relatively inefficient than normal organizations, I think. Can DAO be the mainstream forms of organizations, even though that kind of inefficiency?
I think DAO can be, at some extent, the mainstream, can enter into mainstream in a special field of like IT or metaverse, something like that. Because of the DAO has the properties of the reliability and sustainability, and no matter what happens, DAO will keep working, right? For example, a major developer stops working on the project, or even funding goes away. And also another benefit of DAO is no one can interrupt on your project, even if from government agency like stop, we are shutting you down. You can't say that. So So in that perspective, I think DAO can be mainstream in one day, I think. Yeah.
You think the government and DAO can coexist?
I think yes. Actually, they can somehow merge into one thing in the future. And DAOs will be like developed, and what we have now is too simple. It's very basic because people are just trying to bring those governance models they have in real world onto the blockchain. But it's not enough. You have to come up with new models that work better on the blockchain and that can work only on the blockchain. So for example, with transparency and accountability. So, and this is the next step because we will have new models that we don't have now, and they will work on the blockchain. And it will be happening soon, and it's starting to happen now.
I think this government and DAOs can definitely work together. I give an example, maybe in Korea, right? So there's a lot of lobbying, right? You know, there's a lot of lobbying, there's a lot of protests and so forth. Actually, that kind of environment works very well in the DAO, right? But I mean, sorry, you know, but to say this, but it works very well in the DAO, you know, and then actually right now it's already a DAO, to be real honest, in a certain form, and then the government will take all this feedback, you know. So I think that's the way DAOs can really work, you know, in this space. So in order to protest, maybe they should sign up for a DAO, right? And that's how things work, you know.
So there can be like bad DAOs as well.
Yeah. I like it, man.
I think DAO and government will be compatible with each other, and like a public service. I mean, the government, like voting, registration, and driving license acquisition, or immigration or taxation, and etc. Especially in the field of public service sector, I think it can be used by using DAO. So those two are not completely opposite concepts. So I think they can coexist.
I don't have much knowledge than you guys, so until now, I think, is there any significantly successful DAO in real world? If it is, what is it? If it isn't, why is it? Successful DAO. Do we have it?
I think we don't have any yet. No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But with DAO?
I hope it will be successful. But I think we have the idea, and it's a success already. So we have the idea of DAO, and it's a success in and of itself. You know? So now we have to work on that idea and make it happen.
DAO is still in development, so it will take at least 1 or 2 years to see the better model. And everywhere I see they are trying to make better governance and better tools to be seen as better one.
Yeah, like I said, DAO is evolving, but I don't think there is a successful DAO in the real world yet.
But maybe someday.
I think that in terms of DAO, real DAO, I don't think we have seen it yet. You know, so when you say successful, I mean right now it's still really early. But again, coming back to the point about a hybrid DAO, you know, the example that I've quoted about the lobbying and so forth, you know, indirectly they are also decentralized. Indirectly they are also a DAO. So it depends on your definition of DAO. Does it have to be on the blockchain? Because if you talk to some people around, they will say that there's no need to be on blockchain, there's no need to be on DLT, right? You know, it depends on how the whole structure is like. You know, so I think if you're talking about the old kind of a decentralized systems, you know, a decentralized economy, I think there are some DAO-like structure. But you talk about blockchain DAOs,
Yeah,
maybe it will
blockchain
take
DAO.
some time.
Take some time,
Yeah.
okay. I like DAO is evolving. I like that word, okay. So, what is the strength of Waves DAO? Can Waves DAO be successful?
Yeah, we are building to be successful because we are trying to implement new models that can actually work in the real world. Because as I said, for the DAOs to work properly, you need to use the models that can work in the real world. You know, so you just can't use those very simple models when your voting power is proportional to the number of tokens, because that would not work in the real world. So we need to take the real world governance and enhance it with blockchain, and maybe invent something new for the real world governance as well. This is what we are trying to do. We are not trying to build a DAO for waves, we are trying to build a DAO platform that can be used also for waves, but not exclusively. It can be used for a lot of things as in blockchain space and also in the real world. So it's a multi-purpose DAO that can be used for anything. And the first DAOs that will be built on this platform will be dedicated to waves. It will be, for example, it will be like waves and grants program, incubator program, some research DAOs, but I hope that there's going to be other DAOs, for example, charity DAOs, when people decide how they want to spend their money in the most efficient way to help some cause and to help people. Some research DAOs, when people like collect funds to do some research, and if you're a successful researcher, you are rewarded for your research. So there can be so many different DAOs, and we will not limit it to blockchain only. We want to make a platform that can be used for anything. So let's see how it goes. I think nobody tried to do that yet. And my goal would be to create something working not only for blockchain projects, but for all projects in general, because I think this is what blockchain should do. It should focus on the real world, and it should make the real world better.
Okay, give a final word for the Korean investors who are interested in DAOs or Waves DAOs.
So guys, we'll be launching it in stages. Stay tuned. We'll do some like token airdrop. You will be able to participate because everybody will be able to participate, and you don't need to to invest anything there because there's going to be an airdrop. It's like for us it's a non-profit project, and I think it can be very profitable for the people who participate. But for us, it's some kind of like non-profit thing. So there's not going to be a token sale, it's just going to be some kind of airdrop, that's it. So stay tuned, and I hope that you will launch your own DAO, and I think we'll launch some DAO in Korea, for example, to distribute grants to Korean developers. So we will have some specific DAO that will be focusing exclusively on Korean market and grants for Korean developers.
Have any words about DAO?
I have a crazy idea. You know, DAO is not always about money, to be honest. It's not about how much some blockchain can give to a certain DAO. So just a bit of background. So right now I'm quite free. You know? So I wrote a book about NFT from zero to hero that is going to be launched on Bybit, NFT marketplace in three days time. So I was thinking, instead of me setting up a Discord group, you know, maybe this is my this is my second book. So perhaps the third book that I have, I can set up a DAO, you know, for fun, and then get people to tell me what should the next few chapters be like, you know. I just find that, you know, when you talk about DAOs, it's not necessarily something really big, you know. You could launch a book with a DAO, you know, just like what I'm really thinking is thanks to you, man. So I really think that, you know, we could form something together on a DAO. You could even sell the book later on. All the royalties can go back to the DAO. And that's a way that you can sustain it, right? It's not like you're going to look at, for example, Clayton, you know, ask them for $50,000 to form a DAO, but it's not sustainable, right? So maybe a way that I've mentioned about the book is something fun, you know, and that's a fun DAO, right?
That's collective, yeah?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, DAO is everywhere, right? Okay. Thank you for sharing insightful idea. And 지금까지 DAO와 사회에 관련된 토론이었습니다. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다. 패널 디스커션으로 수고해주신 5분께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.